So in this context of religion and ecology, what are the academic field of religion and ecology usually based on? What are the kind of assumptions that drive the curricula and the thought process? And the research tends to be kind of driven by these assumptions that are there in the background. Okay, just lifting it from the book, religion and ecology is a newly emerging academic field, not more than 20 years old. Environmental ethics, on the other hand, coming out of Western philosophy, is 40 years old. Scholars of religion and theologians have a great deal of work still to do. Religious and ethical perspectives have only recently been invited into the arena of sustainability sciences and sustainability forums, which are arenas within academia and beyond that, and are trying to respond to climate change and other environmental problems. While academia is somewhat comfortable with the environmental ethics arising out of Western philosophy, it is perplexed by or adverse to the study of religion in universities. So there is generally this belief that religion does not belong in universities, right? Somehow science and religion and academia and religion have had this conflict, implicit or explicit. This is because it confuses religious studies and history of religions with theology that has been largely carried out within a framework of Christian confessional assumptions, beliefs, and practices. Okay, so religious studies and the history of religions are not theology. They are a study of unfolding of various religious traditions, including changes and continuities over time. It's kind of a history of the religion and its evolution. These studies are more indebted to history and the social sciences, especially the study of culture and anthropology. Right? The traditions evolve over time, become parts of the culture, get feedbacks from the culture, and mix with the anthropology, than theology, which has developed primarily at Christian seminaries. The history of religions identifies ethics within the context of world religions and cultures, not simply within a Western Christian framework. So the history of religion is going in the broader sense. Until recently, Christian ethics has focused primarily on social ethics, not environmental ethics. But important contributions are now being made in this arena. So it was all about social ethics, human relations, and not environment-human relations and environmental ethics. As scholars, we do not assume that religions are unproblematic entities. So theologians do not think that religions are not problematic. We recognize the havoc they have caused historically and at present. However, we are suggesting that they are necessary, although not sufficient, partners in seeking environmental solutions. Religions need to be in dialogue with science, policy, and economics. We hope this interdisciplinary dialogue gains further traction through efforts such as this book and this course. So, clear, right? So religion is a part of humanity. It's never going to go away, even though there is some argument that people are becoming less religious over the centuries if you look at the long-term trajectory. If you look at any given time, it looks like there are lots of religious battles, conflicts, even armed conflicts and so on. But if you look at over last couple of centuries, some studies argue that in general people are becoming less religious, more global, more open-minded. I don't know if that's the right word, but being exposed to other cultures makes a difference as well. Okay, what is then the promise and problem of religions? This is just a summary of some key problems and promises. Problems: religions tend to be rigid, dogmatic, bound by tradition, and afraid of modernity, whereas promise is that they can be flexible, changing over time, embracing modernity. So you can look at examples like gay marriage, allowing gays to serve as priests, for example, and so on. they indicate embracing modernity and some promise of flexibility. Exclusive claims to truth looking inward to orthodoxy, whereas the promise would be broad moral reach looking outward to practice. Otherworldly concerns, salvation in heaven, so we are not so worried about preserving the earth for the future, whereas the promise would be valuing this world, creation-centered spirituality. Creation-centered spirituality. People may get nervous about it because creation versus evolution always creates conflicts and passions rise, but is there a way to make room for creation-centered spirituality? One has to see how that would evolve and still allow for science to play a role. Hierarchical, patriarchal, equity, fairness, justice, present sectarian concerns, preserving church membership, whereas the promise would be future generational concerns, supporting the full community of life and not just about church membership. Human rights, rights of nature or creation, anthropocentric, anthropocosmic. Look outward. Be in awe of the nature. We will talk a little bit more about that. So engaging religions, already several activities kind of mix the environmental concerns and economic activities and ecological flourishing, as the book says. One good example is this interfaith center on corporate responsibility. So this is kind of enlightened self-interest that we talked about. Corporations want to have a good image. They want to be seen as socially responsible, climate change as being one of their concerns, sustainability being as one of their goals, and interfaith makes them be reverential to religions of all faith. Right? So protecting workers from trafficking and slavery in corporate supply chains, so working across the world, across all faiths. This is the idea from Buddhism, talking about sustainable, equitable socio-economic development, good governance, preservation and promotion of culture, and environmental conservation. Here is the mandala that's very typical. And Bhutan defined what they called as gross national happiness, and they said it's more important than gross domestic product or GDP. So it includes things like psychological well-being, health, time use, education, cultural diversity, good governance, etc. These are obviously important and are a transition towards religion and ecology. But how do you sustain them and make them meaningful and make them part of this whole market-based economic system, economic development that is our main mode of operation, right? So this is the Tiger's Nest Buddhist monastery that is built at an elevation of 10,000 feet, and it expresses the spiritual values which Bhutan's gross national happiness measures to attest. Wouldn't it be lovely to sit over there and look at the view and admire the awe of nature and creation? I use the word creation with a little bit of hesitation because I am a scientist and always been tuned to think that that is not very scientific. Nonetheless, this is the Hassan II Mosque in Casablanca, Morocco. Is part of country's effort to green its mosque. So it's a mosque, it's a religious institution, but it's built with a concern towards green environmental concerns. Okay, so that's a direct evidence of religion and ecology trying to work together. Right? So there is some things to build on.